Namaste, prāṇam, Gita dhyanam. Om Parthaya Prativoditam Bhagavata Narayanena Swayam Vyasena Gratitam Purana Munina Madhye Mahabharatam Advaitam Ritavarshinim Bhagavatim Ashtadashadhyayinim Ambatva Manusandadhami Bhagavad Gite Bhavatveshinim. O Bhagavad Gita, with which Lord Narayana himself gave enlightenment to Arjuna. The ancient sage Vyasa included it in the Mahabharata. O goddess, showerer of the nectar-like knowledge of non-dualism contained in your 18 chapters, O my affectionate mother, the destroyer of rebirth, I meditate upon thee. Krishna Vandana. Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kansa Chanura Mardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. Son of Vasudeva, the slayer of Kansa and Chanur, extreme delight for Mother Devaki, O Lord Krishna, the supreme teacher of the universe, my salutations to you. Srimad Bhagavad Gita, the Akshara Brahma Yoga, the yoga of imperishable Brahman. And Sri Krishna is addressing the doubts raised by Arjuna. One by one he has addressed, and now he has started explaining how it is that at the last moment, at the prayāna kale, at the anta kale, when the yogis, they focus their the mind on me. The yogis, when they think of the Lord, the ultimate Lord, how they attain to the state of realization, the ultimate realization. And today we are going to read the 12th and 13th shloka. Now this again, like previously we had read 9th and 10th shloka together. Today we will be reading 12th and 13th shloka together because of the continuity of the meaning from one to another. And from 12th shloka onwards, Sri Krishna is going to tell us briefly, of course, more about this Akshara Brahman. And in the 11th shloka that we read, Sri Krishna has told us, Yad aksharam veda vido vadanti. Yad aksharam veda vido vadanti. Veda vido is the knowers of the Vedas, the knowers of the scriptures. What they talk about, what they call that Akshara. What they call that Akshara. And Vishanti Yadyatayo Vitaragaha. Yatis, the all renouncers. Renouncers of what? Vitaragaha. Renouncers of attachment and desires. Attachment to lust and greed, attachment to all the worldly enjoyment, renouncers of those attachments and desires, what they seek, Vishanti. The sannyasis, maybe the ochre-robed sannyasis who have literally given up everything and taken up the life of the followers of Brahma, or even those internal sannyasis, maybe even the grihasthas who have renounced the desires and passions and the attachments. Those renouncers who seek that akshara, who seek that thing which the knowers of Vedas call as akshara. Yadichanto brahmacharyam charanti. Yat ichhantaha brahmacharyam charanti. Brahmacharyam charanti is lead the life of celibacy, lead the life of continence, lead the disciplined life of brahmacharis. Those seeking which, yat ichhanto, that Brahman, seeking that Brahman, those yogis, those yatis, all renouncers, they lead the life of continence, they lead the life of celibacy. And tatte padam sangrahena pravakshe. That I am going to declare to you briefly, in summary, sangrahena, in short. In short, I am going to explain to you what is that which the knowers of Vedas and the scriptures they call as Brahma. Seeking which all renouncers, they give up their attachments, they give up their desires, they give up all their intention of seeking worldly pleasures. They only want to seek that akshara, and wishing to gain which they lead the life of brahmacharis. That I am going to tell you in short. Now let us see what Sri Krishna is going to tell us in short about that Akshara Brahman in the coming verses. The 12th and 13th shloka we are going to read together. 12th shloka. Sarva-dvārāṇi sanyamya mano hṛidi nirudhya mūrdhnyādhāyātmanaḥ prāṇam āsthito yoga-dhāraṇām. Sarva-dvārāṇi sanyamya. Sanyamya is having control. Having control, sarva-dvāra. What is this sarva-dvāra? What is this all opening? Sarva is all, dvara is doors. Doors mean openings. Sri Krishna is referring to these doors of this body. Those 9 openings of this citadel, where the Almighty, the Lord, the Jivatman is dwelling inside this body. So, sarva-dvārāṇi sanyamya, having controlled all the openings. Now, openings is what? Openings is nothing but the senses. The sense organs. Having controlled. And mano hṛidi nirudhya. Man, the mind. Nirudhya, mind is focused. Focused where? Focused in the heart. Mano hṛidi nirudhya, having confined, having concentrated, having focused, having established, the mind having established in the heart. Now why heart? Heart is the place of that Lord. Heart is not this our physiological heart which is flushing the blood in and out into our body. Not that heart. It is that region of the heart, the anahata chakra, the region of heart, the plane of heart. That is the plane where the Lord resides, where the soul resides. And Sri Krishna says, with the mind centered on that place where the heart, where the Lord is residing, and having controlled all the senses. Mūrdhnyādhāyātmanaḥ. Mūrdhnya. Mūrdhnya is head. The Atman, the self. The self having established in the head. Prāṇam āsthito. In the head, prāṇam āsthito. Prāṇam is the life energy. The life energy of the soul, the life energy of this living being, having brought it into the head, having concentrated that life energy into head. What happens? Yoga-dhāraṇām. Yoga-dhāraṇām is practices the concentration. Now these yogis, Sri Krishna says, they all these yatis that he has talked about in the 11th shloka, they control their senses, bring their mind into the region of heart, and the life energy is brought here. You remember that we said Sri Krishna had told us that bring the life energy here between at the center of the eyebrows, the Ajna chakra, where this is supposed to be the 6th and ultimate plane, on the plane of chakras, on the plane where various centers are lined up in our body. So bring that life energy into the region of head. And why that? Because the yogis, when they attain nirvana, it is not that the life force goes from any of these openings. No. The life force, goes from the subtle opening from the top of the head at the top of the skull. That is the sahasrara. And the life force just breaks open that opening and merges into the one and ultimate, the Akshara Brahman. So that is what Sri Krishna is telling us. This is how the yogis, they leave the body. Now, further next to 13th shloka, Om ityekākṣharaṁ brahma vyāharan man anusmaran. Yah prayāti tyajan dehaṁ yāti paramāṁ gatim. Om ityekākṣharaṁ brahma vyāharan man anusmaran. Vyāharan is uttering the single syllabled Brahma Om. Om is a kind of summarized Brahma. The entire thing that is just in that one letter Om. Ekākṣharaṁ Brahma. Uttering that Ekākṣharaṁ Brahma. Uttering that Ekākṣharaṁ Brahma, doing what? Vyāharan man anusmaran. Vyāharan Om, uttering the single syllabled Brahma Om. You see, Om is the gist of the ultimate reality. That is what Vedas say. Om is just for us. I mean, we may consider it to be just one, letter, just one akshara, one syllable, but it has the gist of the entire Brahman, that paramādivya purusha, that gist is there in that Om. And these yogis uttering Om, Mam Anusmaran. They thinking about me, uttering the single syllabled O Brahma, that is Om. Yah prayāti tyajan dehaṁ yāti paramāṁ gatim. Yah is who? Prayāti. Prayāti is departs. Departs what? Tyajan dehaṁ. Giving up this body, one who departs. Yāti paramāṁ gatim. That person, that yogi, that seer, that knower, that jnani, he reaches the paramāṁ gatim, the ultimate the place. He reaches that ultimate stage of becoming one with the Brahman. So the one who, uttering the single syllable Brahma Om, remembering me, who gives up the body, who departs, the life force departs from this body, that person, that yogi, he attains the ultimate supreme. All the gates of the body closed, the mind confined within the heart, having fixed his life energy in head, engaged in firm yoga, uttering the one-syllabled Om, Brahman, thinking of me, he who departs in this way, leaving the body, attains the supreme goal. This is the clear-cut process that Sri Krishna has told, how the yogis, they depart from this world and they become liberated. There is no more birth and death for those souls, those jivatmans. Those jivatmans, they become one with the Paramatman once for all. This is how the yogi brings his embodied existence to an end. This is how they practice it throughout their life, Sri Krishna says. It is not that it happens in one fluke. They practice it throughout their life, constantly thinking, dwelling their mind on the Lord, uttering their mantras and practicing about it. As the river enters the ocean, the individual consciousness of yogi merges in the cosmic consciousness, which is Brahman. That's like every river. It finds its way through all the hurdles, makes its own way, the rivers, Nobody tells them you prepares a path for the river. No. They find their own way. There are lots of hurdles. It is not an easy task for river having originated at its origin when it starts flowing down to meet that ultimate ocean of consciousness. There are so many hurdles, but those hurdles are not the hurdles per se for that river, because the river is determined to go and become one with the ocean. And that's how the yogis, just like that, they might have hurdles, but with the focused approach, they ultimately meet the one and only one, the ultimate consciousness. The activities of the body and the senses all cease as when going to sleep. All senses are under control. We may see something which is fascinating to the otherwise eyes, but when that sense is controlled, there is no fascinating, beautiful anything. The eyes, they perceive, they see only the Lord in that thing. All the senses become one-pointed. They are so controlled that although the sense organs, they are touching the sense objects, they don't see in the sense objects the objects of enjoyment. They see those as objects of divinity. That is what happens when the sense organs, the senses are brought under control. The activities, the body and the senses all cease as when going to sleep. When we are asleep, we were not fascinated by what is lying there in the fridge and refrigerator, those sweetmeats and delicacies. We don't get fascinated by that. It may be there in the refrigerator. As a bird returns to tree to roost, the mind of the yogi gets settled in his heart. And when the senses are controlled, when one starts seeing everything divine outside, all the senses, I hear something, to me it is a sound divine. I see something, it is a sight divine. I smell something, it is a fragrance divine. I touch something, it is the sense of touch divine. Everything becomes filled with divinity, and under such circumstances, what happens? The mind itself, it draws in towards our heart. Like the birds at the end of the day, they just go back to their nests. The mind of the yogi gets settled in his heart at the time of death. The mind is not going anywhere, no outward going. Contrary to this, the mind of the worldly wanders woefully on mundane things. But one who hasn't reached that stage of getting liberated, his mind dwells on all sorts of things in this world. My money, my house, my family, my this, my that. The last moment, there is no thought of the Lord. The last moment, there is no thought of the mother. Cold spreads all over the body as prana leaves it. As a traveler goes to a vehicle station, the prana of the yogi finally comes to the head. Finally, when the journey is over, the train, it reaches its terminus, isn't it? For the ultimate destination, that station, the train reaches. Similarly, for the yogis, when the end comes, the prana, the life energy, the life force, automatically it reaches the head. For this reason, the yogi's head is the last region from which warmth vanishes. When a yogi dies, all the body may start becoming cold, but it is here the warmth still exists for the yogis. It is yoga-dhāraṇā for the mind to be fixed in Ishvara at the time of departure. The sound vibration Om persists then. And when such a stage comes that the prana is about to depart, for the yogi, on the yogi's lips, there is nothing but Om, 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 the name of the Lord. The spiritual content of this vibration is experienced as infinite bliss and brilliance of pure consciousness. This Brahma Nirvāṇam is the supreme goal attained by the yogi. And the way the prāṇam, it departs the body and merges into the Brahma, into the Brahman, which is the Brahma Nirvāṇa. That is the ultimate objective of any yogi. In fact, that is the ultimate objective for all of us, for all the beings. That is the ultimate objective. But we go about attaining that ultimate objective in a roundabout way. Yogis, they go directly. For them, there are no roundabout ways. There are no maybe so many births to be taken and given up, so many lives to be born and dead. For them, it is not that. Now, that is what Sri Krishna taught us about, in short, about the process, how the yogis, they depart from this world attaining to the Brahman, that Akshara Brahman, which is called Akshara by the knowers of the Vedas. And what Sri Ramakrishna has to tell? Sri Ramakrishna's teaching, which is very similar to this teaching of Sri Krishna. The formative thought that dominates the mind of the one who leaves the body is the factor that governs and contributes to the next birth of that individual. Like we have seen earlier, that the thought that is topmost in the mind at the time of death, that determines the future course of action. That thought writes the next script of the next act. That thought, uppermost thought at the time of death, writes the script of the next sequel to that movie which is going to end. Spiritual discipline is therefore imperative to one and all. Now, if we want a better movie, better sequel, we should better plan things well. Spiritual discipline is therefore imperative to one and all. The devotee of the Lord is ever immersed in the thought of God. Being firmly fixed in it, he reaches the Lord on giving up the body. Exactly what Sri Krishna's teachings and Sri Ramakrishna's teachings, they gel so well in this teaching of Sri Ramakrishna. Whatever the mind that is fixed, that is what the yogi will get. Yogi's mind automatic. We may have to make an effort, but for us also it will become automatic if we practice through that abhyasa yoga that Sri Krishna has been telling us about. If we do that, we can also attain this state. We can also attain this state where controlling all the senses, the mind focused in the region of heart, we can bring our life forces in the region of head, and at the time of death, the life energy will depart from this body through this subtle opening and not through the ordinary 9 openings that usually otherwise we would have taken. So that is the great teaching in short that Sri Krishna has told us in this 12th and 13th shloka. The next shloka, Sri Krishna is going to tell us about the way of getting fixed in the thought of God also. So Sri Krishna is not leaving anything, halfway through. Here he has taught us about the process of leaving the body, the normal process followed by the yogis. Next we will see what Sri Krishna has to tell us about how to get fixed in the thought of God. Till then, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Sri Krishna Arpanamastu. Jai Sri Ramakrishna. Jai Thakur. Jai Ma. Jai Swamiji.